We will. We haven't sent. Who could be the city?
Grace, this nation was born.
I tua atua kara rua nā tua mātua ponoa, nā tua aroha, e whānau a mai Aotearoa.
Bless these councillors of heart and give all things needed for the faithful discharge of their responsibilities.
Whakapainga mai mātou ko ngā mai whakatiki, ko mai ki mātou nā mere pai. Kia aki ai tau mātou mahi, nā mahi a hapi aki ia tia hapuri.
Give to each good health and good judgment for the decisions to be made, wisdom beyond our own, and a clear understanding so that we may promote the glory and welfare of all in the city.
Ko mai ki ti tine, ki mātou, tia oronga pai, mātou pare ka pai, hoki kia whakatauki ai ki te tuna, mā mata tu aki e kura maranatanga kia ki tu kore mō o ranga o tia kura roto.
Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Ko e hu praetia tia mā ti kil. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Afternoon, everybody, as we meeting this 30th, as we adopt the annual report and following that the delegations update. We have the apologies from Councillor Wheeler. Happy to move. Seconded by Councillor Benny. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. It's been carried. We now move on. Item 2 is declarations of interest. If there's any changes to the conflict and declarations, please advise myself or the governance advisor. And we move to item 3, which is a public forum, and we have one speaker this afternoon, Heather Blissett, who'd like to speak. So you'd like to come forward, Heather? Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, read it at this time. Before coming, I sought wise counsel. There is one who sits above you, all in my opinion. No, I don't mean God, I'm referring to wise. You can thank her because I come in peace. And 2 things jumped out, or actually 3 jumped out of me reading the annual report. On page 30, quote, the fact that both measures have declined strongly suggests that residents aren't recognising the value they receive by way of facilities, services and rentals. It's time to change our languages. And we're also on the news for our credit rating. I don't need to go into that to any great depth. Page 75, we cannot go to our trees on the burn because we could never replace life for life. And yes, my thoughts default to Catherine Mansfield. I don't see any report about the eco-side at Catherine Mansfield in the road safety section. It could be my naivety about what is reported and what isn't. I'd like to think that change can start today. We've all travelled down side roads in our lifetime. Let's get rid of the glossy magazines with clickbait headlines and get to the core of our community. People like Fats should be an example that our lives are not perfect, but when we die, we'll be remembered for our actions and the way we made people feel. I grew up in Devon, and we had to drive in a car that had cherries put right on our doorstep here, so sometimes we don't value what we've already got. If our ancestors believed in business as usual, then we'd all be sitting in caves, so to speak. Life evolves. The plastic explosion has only happened in my lifetime. That's how quickly we can change for good and for bad. From today, we should choose to pause and rethink the design of our beautiful community and lead by example. Rebuild trust and close the widening gap between council and community. Change our languaging on all levels. Who knows, maybe one day in the distant future, the city will block streets to honour our positive change makers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Councillor Newell?
Oh, yes, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Heather. That was, as usual, a great positive. One of the things that we have been very unable to do in a meaningful way is to report on our greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm just wondering, maybe not now, but maybe at some point, if you have some suggestions as to how we can better report on greenhouse gas emissions. We'd be very interested to hear from you.
I would need to consult someone who's far wiser than I am.
Thank you.
Outside my scope. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. Okay, we now move to item 4, which is the adoption of the annual report 2023-24. You have the report there from the directors, from the manager there on page 4. And we also, we do have with us from Audit New Zealand, Delco and John. Welcome. Thank you. Would you like to come forward? If there's any comments you'd like to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. I think we talked about our report for the current year. So we have completed all the work necessary to report on both aspects, both the audit information, which consists of the financial statements, and statement of service performance, as well as the disclosure requirements in the annual report, which is the information required by Schedule 10 of the Local Government Act, and also the preferential prudence reporting regulations. In terms of what is included in our audit report, I'll just do a comparison to last year. So in terms of the opinion on the financial statement, that's an unqualified opinion. So we'll satisfy that the financial statements fairly present the affairs of the council in terms of the requirements. In terms of the statement of service performance, we're satisfied with all the measures are materially correct, except for those that we qualified in the previous year. There's 3 water services measures which relate to the number of water complaints that the council receives about each of those services, which in line with the previous year's council together with Wellington Water are not reporting on the whole number of complaints. They report the first complaint that is received about an issue, but not any subsequent ones. We might receive 2 or 3 or more about a particular issue. So that's a completeness issue related to those 3 measures. And then secondly, we also include a modification about the reporting on greenhouse gas emissions from council operations, which relate to a comparative figure. So there isn't an update for this year because council only updates that measure every 2 years. So our report modifies what was reported as the comparative, because in the prior year our work was limited over the reporting in terms of the emissions factors that we use. They were quite outdated. Until you get some updated information, then we'll be able to put that further. The annual report also documents some of the inherent uncertainties in measuring and reporting on greenhouse gas emissions, which is a complex process that we will have that in our report. In the current years, we've got the included matter, and I think this highlighting council's disclosures around the current year's water services valuation of the assets. So that has seen a significant increase. When we look at our intention to those disclosures, which highlight some of the uncertainties around evaluation like this, there's been a lot of increase in the program, we're increasing construction costs. And we're also aware of changes in the sector, such as the regional approach to low water dam, which could change the current water services delivery model in the future. And Regional Water is also advised of a procurement commercial model review of its current procurement practices. So all of those things increase the already high inherent uncertainty over evaluation. We just bring attention to that exposure. Those are the key aspects of the report.
Questions? Councillor Newell.
Thank you very much. Funnily enough, I'm going to ask you about the greenhouse gas emissions reporting. What are other councils doing in terms of this kind of reporting? Are we following a similar methodology to other people, or are there other ways of actually reporting? Because this to me is a layperson. It's just, what does that mean?
So I can talk to last year. So I know last year there were a number of councils who were in the same in the same position. So using the information available were those 2017 spend emissions factors, which I think in looking at the time frame that has moved on to 2017, there's so many changes to technologies and all kinds of things that can relate to that. You need an updated emissions factor first to know that you're dealing with the latest information. Then we would only move into auditing and saying, well, is it representative of council's operations and emissions? So it will go through probably various stages in terms of getting there. I wanted to talk to the current year's progress that other councils have made. But we will, that information will become available to us after all of the audits have been finished and adopted in that council. So where councils have been able to remove a modification over a greenhouse gas emissions, but there will be other councils even within the region that had a similar qualification last year. So where they've been able to do that, then we can share, we can start to share that information as to how, what are the key changes and improvements that have been made that have increased the confidence around this reporting. So we do expect this will grow. This is an area that there will be a lot of new measures coming. A lot of work will be focused. We should point.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Begley.
Thank you, Worship. Just on the water complaints, well, we've had this lingering for a few years now. Are we making any progress? Because to my understanding, the issue is that our contact centre in Palmerston North, the way the system works, they report it as one job. If it's a leak, it's not 10 leaks, it's one leak with 10 complaints, and that's what the problem is. How we get it as one leak. Have we made any strides or still the same non-compliance?
So if there has been good progress on this issue, to the point where we do see due calls being reported in the system. So what is in our HUD system, you do record it the second you follow up calls. What is picking up at the moment is only the initial personal service. So I think that in order for it to be a change that starts to reflect in the reporting, the council probably have to work with the Regional Water, do that reconciliation of the follow-up calls and make sure that that's reported on a, start getting that reporting entrenched on a monthly basis. And like that should
There to be a reconciliation.
a reconciliation and stuff on with the data, and then they will pick up the report because they report exactly the same measures in their reporting. So there will have to be a joined operation to just consider all the data at the moment because you get duplicate calls from both councils and the audits.
Any of the other councils in the region that use Wellington Water get the same qualified thing?
Yeah. At the moment, all of them receive the same thing.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Rose.
I have concern of one of the reports that you put in there. As a result of our audit work was limited and there was no practicable audit procedures, we could apply to obtain assurance over the reported results for these performance measures. So are those the performance measures against each of our categories that we split out in our annual report? So why couldn't you give us a performance? Why did you put that paragraph in there?
So we're required in terms of the standards to consider alternative procedures when we try to do a test one way and we find there are differences in the reporting, or we know the system is incomplete in this case, the reporting is only done on the initial report. We'll try to consider other ways of looking at the data. You know, whether that's looking at council's data and trying to reconcile it, doing some other tests, but the auditor who does this is the audit appointed auditor. I know that they did try alternative procedures like that type of reconciliation, but the material differences between the data, what's being reported on, whether it's in the water side, what is sitting in council's own customer records information. So until that reconciles, you know, you've got a basis then to consider, you know, is that thing complete in terms of all the other follow-up calls that are in there. So that's what that means. We just have to, we've got a responsibility to not just try one way to audit something, to consider if there's another way to do it, but we haven't been able to find that.
Okay, I have another question. So we got our report on this a few minutes, not long after, and we've had a bit of a crash to try and read your summary. And we know that legislation requires that we need all councils to need these. Is there any reason why we're getting these reports so late from Audit New Zealand? I mean, we have to be able to read these because we're elected members to take responsibility that we read the stuff and therefore we can vote on it. But when you get it at the 11th hour and you haven't had the opportunity to read it, I'm not prepared to say yes, I agree with everything you've written.
In the audit report.
Yeah, because we've only just received it.
There's a lot, we do try to stick to the time frame as much as possible. I mean, there's a lot of, especially this year, there's a lot of work that's been done, and we're all grateful for the cooperation and information that we've gotten. But we only completed our work in time to report to that in line with the statutory time frame.
Any further questions? No? Thank you. Thank you very much, Jacko and John. So, any comments from our group managers?
Through you. No. I thought I would just take whether that we do try to get these reports out earlier, which is why there was a draft Friday. I thought maybe just for process, I'd take the councillors through changes usually on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Through to what you have just been handed out about it. Is that okay?
Yes,
please. Okay. So if we turn to page 4, I think the first thing I'd really attention to is in the discussion, paragraph 5, you can put a line through that now because that refers to you're in council agenda, what was here on Friday. And there's the adoption of the annual report. And it refers to a note in paragraph 5, it says we have adopted page 98 of the annual report 23-24. That page 98 has been changed, but that paragraph 5 is deleted. It is no longer needed to be discussed. It is no longer discussed. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please? And then just on, I'll just give an overview, the non-financial, everything in here we've tried this year to highlight in yellow. Like it's highlighted, it has changed from Friday. Okay? This is the next month work. The biggest thing in the non-financial section of the report is that we have added some new disclosures on the country control organisations, made them part of trust and put them happy. That is added in pages, and the table, those pages are added into
They go to page number or up to page 85, but they don't actually have page number. So table following page 85 to, and then page ABC, within the disclosure section.
But the disclosures are in section page 85. So added in there.
So what are the two measures or the two new measures that's put in there?
There's not two new measures, all the measures that are reported on in the Taranaki, so two new CCOs, or the ones you said, they're full time.
Yeah,
There's just some notes about what part of us have new measures yet.
yeah, what page is that?
93, page 93 of the document we got today.
And we went through, like, the Taranaki, that's the repeating all of the line out of the people of the measures from there into in our report. So that's the maybe that you see.
So 93 from the 493 A123, like we said. Those are new. But, yeah, all the other changes that have been made for non-financial, types of micros, dangerous taking, they're not material. Footnotes, change, that sort of thing. The only material change is the one that was about. The financial changes, the biggest change is on page 131. We've extended the note on the water assets revaluation. 9C.
Yeah.
9C. Saying, page 138, capital commitment related to water. Change. And the related party like 159 has added related party to the secretary's department. That's the other half round OXC, we pay $425. And then the life viewer, so we've declared that as a related party line. Those three are the biggest changes made in the period. Currently, everything else we non-material changes. We do have change made to cash flow, but it's not material and reallocating. That is all I want to bring to your attention. Questions?
Thank you. Any?
I'd like to take that
Councillor.
on page 21, this is the year. Which is into the 3.69 million to be to a higher budget because of 4.6 million. Could be a lower budget.
Any further questions?
I get not the rest of that.
Two. Any further questions?
So the workshop, with regard to the performance measures where we haven't met them in the workshop, we talked about maybe putting some remedial things in there. Will that happen post this adoption before we do our next survey that goes out to the community? Because we've been trending down on some of the performance measures that we put out to the community, and some of them have been trending down. So are we going to do anything to address that, or are we going to leave it and just go out there and see the survey and hope that we improve? These are the non-performance.
Sorry, on what page are you on?
So on page 20, when we look at where we've improved and where we've referred to, all those measures which are done by an external person, and that is what we tie to our LPP with regard to our performance, right? So we did a workshop where we went over those, and one of the questions I asked is there anything in place where we would look to addressing some of those low performances, or are we just going to accept that this is the performance state that we've got at the moment, and we will just go out and survey it over?
Well, they, no, my expectation is they will be addressed.
Thank you. So they will be, because we only said that in a workshop, I'd like to in a minute that we actually do that.
Thank you,
Yes.
Richard. Yes, just a reminder that some of the tools have changed.
Yeah.
So the new ones will come to financial year and the full year different. I guess the responses of individuals coming to the taking into account and reviewed by the executive staff, just the program to work actively as really possible. And I think that's the review measure that will continue. With regards to the actual survey, and have to be set up to prove the relevant data that's needed for the form decision as we set the long-term plan. So we'll review this year's survey to make sure it matches and provides the required data for the new long-term plan measures. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does, but I'd still like to see that, you know, they're not really paying that much the performance that we expect because we're in the service industry. Shouldn't vary that much, that we should see some sort of improvement.
Councillor Holdens.
Thank you, Richard. Just to build on that, when those activities get looked at, and in terms of the categorising the military work that you've got here, it would be helpful, I think, when those activities get reported back to council, that they then get linked directly to these, so that we can have a good understanding about which ones to define the hit with the different activities you do.
There was no further questions. Then I'm happy to move that we receive the report, final adoption of annual report 2023-24, adopt the annual report 2023-24, and adopting the annual report authorise officers to correct any changes requested by the audit after the date of this report, of any formatting errors, etc. Happy to move. Do we have a second? Councillor Carson, put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. The contrary, no. It's been carried. And can I thank, particularly, I know it's been a lot of hard work, so thank you very much from audit. Thank you, and our staff. There's been a lot of effort, a lot of work, and long hours to do that. So again, I thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for coming. You've got to go out the main doors, John. We won't get locked in. You've got to get out. Thank you. We now move to item 5, which is the delegations update, a report from the Chief Executive on page 216. Comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's just a couple of minor changes that we need to make just to keep things moving along. At the moment, we have an issue with a financial limitation, which is preventing some creditors being paid. It's not really a good thing going forward. So we're attempting to rectify that. And as a result of the restructuring that we've undertaken, we need to be able to change the delegation of some staff roles that we now have. And just a reminder that this is part of a process, and we will be reporting back in full on delegations in early next year, February. So these are really just holding measures to get us through till then.
Any questions?
To the CEO. So it is a bit concerning that we're unable to pay some of our bills. And so are we lifting the limit that the CEO is able to pay? Because I thought that was covered by any decisions that were made in our LTP. So is this outside of the delegated authority that we've given our CEO through the LTP? These are contracts outside of that? Is that what we're looking at?
Through you, Worship, thank you for the question. That is actually the nub of it. The original discussion that you had a bit over 6 weeks ago was really supposed to have been a targeted conversation on changing the format of the document. Unfortunately, some of the wording in that document changed the delegations, and I now have a financial limit which I, yes.
And we can't operate.
And we have invoices that exceed that, perhaps more regularly than any of us would like. So this is putting it back to exactly what you articulated.
Right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Bentley?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just want, this was feedback on the paper. Would have just been easier just to have this is the old one, this is the new one next to each other, rather than having to refer back to the minutes of a previous council meeting. Just something to note for the future. It's quite hard to work out what's going on.
Any further comments or questions? Then we have the recommendation. Do we have a mover that receive and note the report titled Delegations Update?
I'll move.
Approve the amendments of the delegations register set out in paragraphs 10, 13 and 16 and authorise office to make any changes. Deputy Mayor Swales moves, seconded by Councillor Newell. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
The contrary no. It's been carried. With that, I close the meeting.
No, aren't we doing water?
Next week.
Oh, next week.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
Didn't we see the look at?
yeah.